네, 오늘 이 시간은 유튜브 알고리즘에 대해서 한번 좀 접근해 보도록 하겠습니다. 유튜브의 이제 전술로 얘기를 좀 해 보려고 준비를 하다가 유튜브 알고리즘이란 무엇인지 좀 짚고 넘어가면은 여러분들께 도움도 되고 재미도 있으실 것 같아서요. 우리가 중간고사 보기 이전에 유튜브 알고리즘에 대해서 한번 짚고 넘어가 보도록 하겠습니다. 먼저 이제 제가 유튜브 상에서 유튜브 알고리즘을 검색을 해봤습니다. 그랬더니 이제 유튜브의 구독자가 많아지는 법, 유튜브 알고리즘에 뜨는 법, 구독자 수를 늘리는 법 등등 뭐 다양한 분들께서 이 유튜브 알고리즘에 대해서 뭐 분석 아닌 분석을 쭉 해오고 계시는데요. 무엇보다도 가장 좋은 방법은 유튜브에 근무하시는 유튜브 알고리즘 담당자로부터 유튜브 알고리즘이 무엇인지에 대해서 배우시는 게 가장 정확하겠죠? 제가 설명을 드리는 것보다. 네, 그래서 오늘은 유튜브 알고리즘 담당자의 인터뷰를 준비를 했습니다. 네, 유튜브의 검색과 추천 담당하시는 분들이거든요. 그래서 토드라는 분이 이제 인터뷰를 해주셨는데 이 유튜브 담당자, 알고리즘 담당자로부터 유튜브 알고리즘이 무엇인지 함께 한번 들어보시겠습니다. 그런데 이제 한 가지 좀 여러분들께 먼저 말씀드릴 내용은 정식 한글 버전의 자막이 준비가 되어 있지 않습니다. 그래서 유튜브에서 제공하는 영문판 버전에서 이제 한글로 자동 번역된 그 한글 자막으로 보여드리도록 하겠습니다. 그래서 좀 자막의 번역이 깔끔하지 못할 수 있습니다. 네, 그렇기 때문에 가급적이면 좀 그 인터뷰 담당자의 원어를 중심으로 좀 들어주시면은, 그리고 자막은 참고 삼아 들어주실 것을 권해드리겠습니다. 네, 유튜브 담당자 토드의 인터뷰 보시도록 하겠습니다.
Hello, insiders. This week I have a very special guest. I got Todd from the Search and Discovery team with me today. Welcome, Todd.
Thanks for having me.
Now, Todd, people have been asking for this interview ever since we started the channel. So I'm super excited to kind of dig in a little bit to help people understand a little bit around how we recommend videos and how we think about that. Maybe we could just start by going over, like, what is the goal of the Search and Discovery team? Like, why do you guys exist?
Yeah, so there's, as you know, there's over 400 hours of video being uploaded to YouTube every minute. So that's, I think, like 72 days worth of content per day. And given that each person probably only has an hour or two to watch YouTube every day, it's our job to help them find what they want to watch. And not just what they're going to watch, but what they're going to want to enjoy, and keep them coming back to YouTube every day to watch more videos. So really understand each viewer, what they like, and give them the videos that they're going to find engaging.
So how do you solve that problem? That sounds like a very kind of ambitious goal. Like, how do you break that down into a mental model?
Yeah, so the way we think about it is our job is to follow the audience, because by listening to the audience, we'll do a better job of giving them what they want. So the way we think about the systems that we build is that they're really a gigantic feedback loop for the audience. In any given day, we collect over 80 billion different pieces of feedback from the audience. We look at things like, well, what did they watch? What did we recommend that they decided not to watch? How long did they watch for? But increasingly, we're moving beyond just watch time as one of our key goals. We look at satisfaction signals, like, did they like it? Did they dislike it? When we recommended it on the home page, did they say they were not interested? We give viewers the ability to tell us that, so we can stop recommending certain types of videos that they didn't like. And recently we even started using surveys to try to even better understand the audience and what they like and don't like. So we send out tens of thousands of surveys every day to people, asking them whether the recommendations we're giving them are good or not, as well as following up with people after they've watched a video to find out how enjoyable that video was. Was it one of the best videos they've ever seen, or was it kind of an average video? Because we believe that not every minute spent on YouTube is probably equally valued, and we want to be able to to really recognize when viewers have maybe even a life-changing moment with a video, so that we can recommend more videos like that.
Cool. Now, you've been on the team for 3 years.
Yeah.
I'm guessing you've seen a lot of interesting experiments, and the work that the team does has evolved over time. Could you share some examples of changes that have been made, and maybe why you guys thought about making those changes?
Yeah, so changes are happening all the time, because we're always trying to get better about giving people the right content that they're going to find satisfying. At any given time, we probably have several dozen different experiments running with different changes that we think might help improve engagement and satisfaction. But we're also very careful about how many of those experiments make it into the final product. Each experiment gets tested with millions of viewers, so we really want to see how it does before we roll it out to everyone, and only a minority of those changes do we put into the final product, and we go through a review process for every change, and we look at dozens of metrics. I know that a lot of creators have kind of asked me, well, what's the one thing that I should focus on to be successful on YouTube? Is it watch time? Is it likes? Is it comments? And what we found over time is...
I've even asked you that question.
You have asked me that question.
Yeah.
And as you probably remember,
Yeah.
I've said that, while I wish I could give you a simple answer, what we've learned to truly understand the audience and what they want is not just about just looking at one thing like watch time or likes, because, for example, with watch time, we've come across some changes in the past that we've considered, like we had this one change recently that significantly increased watch time across YouTube. It actually, if we would have rolled out this change, people would have watched millions more hours every day on YouTube. So you might think, well, obviously that's one of the good ones. Let's roll that one out. But when we looked at the dozens of metrics we looked at for each change, we found that there were some interesting things happening that weren't the same across all viewers. What was happening is, one, we were recommending longer videos on average. So you might see more videos that are like an hour long or more. But our hit rate, in terms of like how often a viewer would find a video they want to watch, was lower. So you'd be less likely to find a video, but when you did find one you liked, you might watch for longer. So overall watch time is up. But what was ultimately happening when we dug in was we were increasing engagement with a small, heavy segment of the audience, and actually reducing engagement from a casual user segment. And because we look not just at like the total volume of engagement, we also break it out and see how it's affecting different groups of viewers. And we care about growing the appeal of YouTube to more and more viewers over time. We felt that this wasn't representative of the type of change we wanted to make, because it was actually making the experience worse for a significant segment of viewers that we cared about. And so rather than make them pay the price for another segment, we said, let's go back and see if we can find a way to get the improvements here without hurting it for a different segment. So we look at these things very closely, and spend hours a week digging into the details. But ultimately it does change a lot. In a given year, 200 to 300 changes do end up happening. So it's a lot to keep up with, but each change that we do roll out, we can be confident that we're making the experience better.
Cool. It's easy to think about. People often talk about the algorithm.
Yeah.
I think in reality, it's a little more nuanced than that. Maybe what we could do is talk about specific spots within YouTube where recommendations are made. Like there's homepage, there's watch next, there is trending, search as well. Maybe could we step through, like starting with homepage, how do you think about that solving that problem of recommendation, and then we can move on to the others.
Sounds great. Yeah. So a lot of people talk about it as if it's just like one algorithm, and we do have different systems, and each surface or feature that the user sees kind of has its own set of systems behind it that are trying to optimize for whatever that feature is trying to achieve. So for example, on the home page, we are really trying to be the one-stop destination. So it's the first thing you see when you open it up on your mobile app or type youtube.com into your browser. We really want to be as efficient as possible in helping you find something, whether it's a trending video or whether it's something by your favorite creator. We want to get you there as quickly as possible so you don't have to navigate around the app to find what you're looking for. So we're going to pull in videos from all sorts of different sources to try to find the ones that are going to resonate with you. So we'll pull in recent videos from the channels you subscribe to. We'll pull in videos that have been watched by people who tend to watch the same sorts of videos you do. And we'll also pull in a few videos from channels you may have never watched before. It's actually a great place for channels to get discovered by people who aren't already subscribed to their channel. We found that the homepage actually used to be only your subscriptions, and oftentimes we'll get the question from creators or people internally asking, well, why don't we just, since people have subscribed to those channels, why don't we just give them what they subscribe to? We used to do that. As we've introduced more and not constrained the homepage to videos you've manually opted into, added more recommendations, the engagement has grown dramatically. And so we try to include both familiar content as well as discovery content, and every once in a while we'll kind of retest to make sure that we've made the right decision there, and we'll run another one of those experiments with millions of users where we actually give them just the subscriptions when they start up the app. And we've done that several times since we made that change, and every time we see dramatic drops in engagement on home when we limit it just to subscriptions. So that's, if you had that question about why isn't it only subscriptions, it's because when we show that, people actually visit YouTube less often, which is not really what we're going for. So home is really that personalized one-stop shop that's supposed to bring the most relevant of YouTube to you without you having to type a query or navigate around the app.
Great. And I guess if for those viewers who are super interested in just the people they're subscribed to, there is always the subscriptions tab.
That's right. It's just one tap away.
Yeah.
There's a subscription tab that filters down to the stuff that you've subscribed to, and it's we still offer that for the people who want to just jump into that as well.
Cool. What about Watch Next?
So Watch Next, that's what we call it in our team. Externally, sometimes people call it suggested videos. The recommendations you see on the sidebar while you're watching a video on desktop. This is one of our most powerful recommendation areas. Drives a huge amount of engagement on YouTube. Kind of similar to how we call it Watch Next, we're trying to find the next thing you want to watch. So unlike the homepage, which is really centered around you only, we have some additional context of what you're currently watching now. And so that's going to sometimes influence what you want to watch next. So we're going to pull in some different videos. We're going to pull in more videos from the channel that you're watching. We're going to pull in videos that people who watched the video you're watching, what else did they watch? That's a key part of it. We're going to pull in similar videos that have like similar titles and keywords and descriptions that might be similar. And finally, we're not just going to limit it to videos that are related to the video you're just watching. This is another change that's happened over the years. It used to be called related videos because we thought that was kind of like the thing that would work the best. And what we found through our experiments is that in addition to showing related videos, if we also show personalized recommendations that might be interesting to you but not directly related to what you're watching, people will watch more. And so sometimes you might want to go down the rabbit hole on a video and watch more related, but other times it's like, hey, I was just looking up how to tie a bow tie, and I got that information, and now what I want to watch next is actually I want to catch up on my favorite vlogger or some other channel. So we don't limit suggested videos. So it's a mix of stuff that might be related and what's relevant to you, and ultimately what determines what shows up there is what performs the best. So the videos that you see there are the ones that we think are most likely to drive viewers to watch and engage. And the 80 billion data points that I talked about earlier, a lot of those data points come from there. So we just, try to keep doing what's working and test various videos in different placements, and the ones that work the best tend to stick around, and the ones that don't tend to not.
All right, so now we've talked about home, watch next. Let's talk about search.
Right, so search, similar to watch next, we have some more context there because you've given us a query. So in general, we're going to start with what you'd imagine, which is we're going to find videos that match that query, either in the title or the descriptions, or maybe we've seen that people who search for this query tend to watch these sorts of videos. And so we'll start with a set of relevant videos, and then similar to what I was referring to earlier, there's this feedback loop. So you might say, hey, I have a thumbnail of an iPhone, and I have the text iPhone in my thumbnail, and my title is all about iPhone review, and in my description I say iPhone, iPhone, iPhone. Why am I not number one in the search for iPhone? Well, it's because we don't only look at what we call the metadata that you provide about the video, but we also look at the performance. And so we're going to see when people search for iPhone, is this the type of video that they tend to watch or not? And so the ones that you're going to see at the top aren't just the ones that match the query, but also match what the feedback has been from viewers. So it's a combination of relevance and then that feedback loop of what's actually engaging the audience.
Cool. And then trending.
Trending. This one we get so many questions about. So trending is, one of the things that we built trending around was to be kind of like the water cooler of YouTube. And so it's not just a popular list. It's not the most popular videos that are getting the most views or that sort of thing. A lot of people get confused and think that's what it is. We really wanted to represent the videos that people are having a conversation about. And when you think about that, what are the types of videos that people are talking about at the water cooler? They tend to be broadly appealing videos. So there may be, a video that's getting a lot of views, but it's within sort of like a really narrow audience. Like people may not be talking about that broadly. So we do tend to focus trending on videos that are broadly appealing, for example, to different types of people with different preferences. And we're also looking at videos that don't just have a lot of views in the past, but are actually have some velocity and are increasing and on the rise. So that's why you might see videos in trending that may not have millions of views yet, but we're trying to actually identify those things as they're taking off. And we also look at things like, are people talking about this video on the web? Do we see that, hey, this was actually embedded in a lot of different news articles, and so there are conversations happening outside of YouTube about these videos. Those are some of the things we looked at to try to tap into that water cooler element.
Cool. One thing I've heard people ask about trending is whether the suggestions are paid.
Yeah, I've heard that question as well. So we feel really strongly that any advertisements that we have on YouTube are clearly indicated as ads. You'll see like a little yellow badge that says ad. Same goes for trending. There aren't any of those in trending, and that's because we don't have those ads in trending. We don't have any programs where partners or advertisers can pay us to place videos in trending. It's not a pay for placement thing. So all the videos you see in trending there are because of the ranking that we've come up with, and there's no way for people to pay to influence that. So it's definitely not ads or paid placements.
Cool. There's so many creators now, and like you mentioned, they're uploading hundreds of hours, a minute kind of thing. How does one stand out like as an example, if I wanted to do a bow tie video, there's probably like, I don't know, maybe hundreds, maybe more on YouTube. What sort of advice would you give a creator who's trying to think through his or her content strategy and how to maximize their chances of breaking through?
Right. So I would go back to, how we think about, delivering the right videos to people is we tend to follow the audience. So we kind of put ourselves in the shoes of the viewers and think about, well, what would they want? And if there's already hundreds of bow tie videos, then does the audience want another bow tie video? I often think about this in the same way I would think about any kind of business strategy as well. Like if you're going to open up a restaurant in San Francisco and there's already 200 pizza restaurants, what would your strategy be for opening a new restaurant? Would you just open yet another pizza restaurant? If so, how would you be successful? Well, the way that you might be successful is by doing something different that isn't already being addressed by everyone else. So I would be thinking about, well, is there actually something around how to tie a bow tie that hasn't been covered? Because if there isn't, you're probably, why would the viewers want to watch your video versus another video? So if I were opening a restaurant in San Francisco, I might think about, well, maybe protein bowls. Maybe that's a new type of food that people might be interested in. I don't know. I'm personally interested in that, but maybe there's a more room in the market for something like that than yet another pizza restaurant. So, sometimes you want to be looking at the trends to kind of get a sense of what people like. Yeah. People love pizza. And there may be a new trend, but you also have to think about the competition and how much room there is, and how do you position yourself relative to all the other videos that are there. Like if you're doing one on, I was talking to a creator at VidCon who was asking me, I want to do a sunscreen video. How do I get to the top of the search results on sunscreen? And I was like, well, we have a lot of great sunscreen videos already. Why should your video be at the top of the search results? Is it going to be the best one? Is it going to be better than all these ones we already have? Or, maybe there's a different way you could look at this, like maybe no one has done a video about sunscreens for various skin tones. Or, and I haven't researched sunscreens to know what the best thing is for the audience, but I would really look to find an opportunity. The opportunities are going to be there where somebody hasn't already delivered what the audience wants. So if you want to grow, you want to be the best, maybe start with something a bit more specific that hasn't been covered, and then use that to then expand into broader areas and build your reputation around a broader topic.
Cool. Speaking of documentation, I think your team worked on a Creator Academy video or lesson?
Yeah. So we've been trying to improve our communication with creators because we realized that search and discovery is sometimes a bit of a mystery. And so we recently worked on some new training material about how search and discovery works. So I think if you don't mind putting in the description of this video a link to the Creator Academy lesson that we just refreshed this past month. I encourage everybody to check that out. We have some quizzes in there to try to make it a little bit fun for you to see how well you know search and discovery. Hopefully you'll learn something by giving that a try.
Cool. And you were recently at VidCon as well, right?
Yes.
What do you think were some of the more kind of surprising questions that you got, or more thought-provoking kind of conversations you had where you took something away from it to kind of help you think about it differently?
Yeah, so when I talk to creators, it's, I'm frequently looking at this problem of connecting viewers to videos from the viewer's point of view. It's like, how do we make the viewer as happy as possible? And at places like VidCon, I often talk more to creators, and they're often looking at it from a different perspective, from their channel perspective, and thinking about all the actions that they can do that might influence how they connect with the audience. There was, some of the questions we got were just things that I hadn't really considered. Like someone was asking, if my video doesn't have any talking in it, like how does that impact my discovery. And so
How does that impact his discovery?
it's a good question. It's not something that I had really thought about before.
Yeah.
So a lot of times these questions highlight different things that creators are trying out with, and that we haven't thought of. And so it gives us new ideas for, do we have all the right information in the system, such that if we get this type of video in, are we going to be able to find the audience that's going to be interested in it? Other questions like, well, I have Spanish and English videos, and I'm trying to figure out whether I should have 2 channels or 1 channel, and what's going to work best. Usually the answer that I give to that is, I usually don't have specific expertise on some of these cases, but the answer I usually say is, well, what is working with the audience? If you look at your data in YouTube Analytics, which I highly recommend people spend time in, do you generally find that like if you can look at your geography and see where people are watching from, is it the same audience that's watching your Spanish videos as your English videos? If it is, then probably makes sense to have it on the same channel, because you're kind of, a channel is a way to program to an audience. But if you're finding that you're actually programming to 2 different audiences with the same channel, that's where you're going to probably want to think about separating them, so that, for example, if somebody wants to subscribe, they can get the type of content that they want only, and not the content that doesn't match. So generally just lots of questions from a different point of view than I'm used to thinking about from the viewer perspective.
So great. Sounds like it was helpful for you
Always.
as well.
Oh, VidCon is always an eye-opening experience, whether it's talking to creators or seeing stars and the reactions that the fans have there. It's always exciting.
Who knows? Maybe in the next VidCon, people will recognize you and
I think it's going to be
chase you down.
You're the Creator Insider host.
There you go. Yeah, we'll see about that one.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for spending time with us. I know that hopefully people will find this interview helpful. And we always encourage people to give us feedback and ask questions in the comments. And so what we'll try to do, like we do with every video, is answer as many of them as we can. And I'll definitely consult with you, Todd, where I can to make sure I say the right things and give the right information.
Great.
But everybody keep it real, and hopefully we'll see you next week. Hey Insiders, this week I've got Todd from Search and Discovery back on the show. Welcome back, Todd.
Thank you.
Your previous 2 videos about the algorithm were the best performing videos that the channel has ever had. So we couldn't help but ask you to come back and talk some more.
I swear I didn't juice anything.
Well, you know what? If you did, I wouldn't complain, but I know you're an honest man and you wouldn't do that. However, we also did promise the Insider viewers to leave comments in the previous 2 videos, and then we would try and review them and get back to the most popular ones. So I have 4 questions for you.
All right.
From the comments, and in the spirit of keeping it real, should we just go
Let's
through
jump
them?
right in.
All right, let's get it on. First question. If you're a new creator, is it pretty much impossible to break through because it's so competitive, and starting from 0, like, should I even try?
No, it's not impossible. This is something, I work on the discovery team, and so a big thing that we try to do is help people discover new channels. And so if there's a new channel out there that's producing great content, we really want to do a good job of getting it out there to people. In terms of like, are there new channels that are actually breaking through anymore on YouTube, given all the competition? This is something I actually looked into, and my team looked into specifically, and we've been tracking over several years. And there's 2 things that we've looked at to try to understand how creators are breaking through. The first one is looking at how many creators are crossing sort of a breakthrough milestone. And one that we often look at is how many creators hit 100,000 subs for the first time and 100,000 daily hours of watch time. And the good news is what we've seen is that the number of channels that are crossing that milestone is 4 times what it was just 2 years ago.
Wow.
So there's a lot more channels breaking through. And the other thing that we've been looking at is, well, how long does it take to break through? Because, you know, you hear stories about how some channels are like going at it for, you know, many years, you know, just growing slowly. The other metric we look at is how many days does it take from the first upload from a channel until they hit that big milestone. And that number has also been improving, and it's taking those channels 40% less time than it did 2 years ago to break through. So overall, there's a lot more channels breaking through, and they're doing it faster than ever before that we've seen. And so I would encourage, you know, keep at it. You know, it's not something that always happens, you know, immediately, but it is happening faster for a lot of channels.
Awesome. Okay, so more people are breaking through. There's also more people starting channels too, though. Is that fair, or?
I think that's true. I haven't been monitoring those stats as closely, so there may be more competition, and you know, the actual likelihood of you breaking through may be going up or down as that competition increases. So yeah, that is one of the things to keep in mind. But what I would recommend is thinking about, like, well, what do you have? What do you want to offer to the audience that isn't already out there? Where's the opportunity to make videos that YouTube already doesn't have, so that, you know, there's going to be less competition in those areas? Or what are the areas that there might be some videos, but they're just not great?
Okay.
So I think that's where I would recommend new creators not to just kind of like chase all the same content that's doing well already, because there's, you know, a lot of competition there.
Okay, next question. A lot of creators find that sometimes they need to take a break, you know? Making a channel ain't easy sometimes, right? If they take a break and they want to just like unplug for a few weeks or maybe like the whole summer, will the algorithm basically kill the channel and say, well, that channel's out of it, and then when you upload again, you kind of have to start all over as if you're brand new and all of the good work you've done is kind of thrown out?
So the short answer, the good answer, is no. The algorithm's not going to kill anyone's channel because they stopped uploading for a while. So I had the chance to see Swoozy. He's a successful creator. He was speaking about what made his channel successful. I think he has 5 million subs, hundreds of millions of views. And he said he really gets it. And he said something to that really stayed with me. And he said, the audience is the boss. And that's true when it comes to vacations too. The algorithm is not the boss. The algorithm doesn't set vacation policies at YouTube, fortunately.
Thank God.
And if you have an audience that really cares about your content, you know, you take some time off, you come back, they're going to be there looking for your next video as well. I can say that, but I also looked at the data. I actually analyzed hundreds of channels that took a break of at least 2 weeks over the summer. And the typical one took about 4 weeks off. And I looked at what their watch time was the week before they took a break, and then what was their watch time the week that they came back. And the majority of channels that took a break had more watch time when they came back than when they left. Now, it's not a guarantee. Maybe there's something about taking some time off really helps get your creative juices refreshed. But yeah, the majority of channels that took a break came back stronger than ever. So it's definitely possible to take a vacation and come back as strong or stronger than before. I know I just saw last week, because somebody sent me something about another creator. She decided to take all of October off, and she didn't even tell her audience how long she was going to be gone. She just said, I'm going to take a break. And she came back a month later, and her sort of comeback video is one of the strongest ones she's had this year. So those are just some examples I've seen, and the data shows to me that taking a break can actually be a good thing. And I know it's got to be hard for a lot of creators that you know, really put a lot of energy into every video and upload really frequently. I'd encourage you to take the time you need. I think it's important.
Okay, and just so we're clear, the opposite is also not true. that if you take a break, the algorithm doesn't give you any special benefits for like welcome home kind of.
No, there's
Right?
no special logic in there that knows about vacations or
Yeah.
breaks. It's just taking the video and trying to find who's going to be interested in watching it. And if your audience is still using YouTube and we show them your video and they're engaging it, then we're back to normal.
Yeah, so most likely, I guess one theory would be when they took the break, they recharged, and then
Yeah.
the next video was had a little more oomph.
Yeah, maybe
Yeah.
there was some pent-up demand and,
Yeah.
and everybody was really excited to have him back.
So it is okay from time to time to take a break if you need to.
Yeah.
Great. All right, next question. If you have a channel and you're uploading regularly, and then you have a video that just does not resonate with the audience, doesn't do well, people don't watch it, they don't like it as much, they don't watch as much of it. The concern is like, oh no, now the algorithm thinks that my whole channel is reflected in the performance of this last video. I'm kind of hosed. What's your take on that?
Yeah, so my take is that, like I said earlier, the algorithm is not the boss here, it's the audience. And what primarily drives who sees your video and how many views you get is how the audience is responding to that video. So, people have dud videos all the time. I see it happen on even the best channels. But then their next video is just, if it's a great video, then it comes back. I actually haven't seen this. I'd love to see if anybody has examples, wants to post them in the comments. I'd love to see an example of a channel that was doing great, had one bad video, and then was dead forever. I haven't seen that. I don't think that's typically how the audience works. I mean, I imagine there could be something you could really upset your audience such that they all left. But, typically everyone sees some unsubscribe activity when they upload a video. But for the most part, I think people will, if they're not interested in the video, they just won't watch it. But as far as how we look at it, we're going to test that next video and see if the audience is interested in that one. And if they are, it doesn't really matter that much what happened previously.
Yeah, that's something that you had mentioned to me in the past, that in a way, every new video is kind of a new chance.
Yeah.
And that there isn't this long sort of historical record that kind of heavily influences whether the next video is going to be given a chance or not. It's really kind of a meritocracy for each video.
That's right.
Awesome. Okay, last question. If my video is demonetized because maybe it was considered not brand suitable, does the algorithm then decide, oh, well, then we won't promote you anymore? Like, how are those things connected?
So the search and discovery systems that decide sort of which videos to recommend, they don't have any knowledge about what's going on in the advertising system. So if you get that yellow icon that you see that says it may not be suitable for all advertisers, the information about that doesn't even flow into our system. So they're completely different system, different teams manage them. Now, there are cases where these things can overlap in terms of, something that advertisers care about running their ads around might be like profanity or violence or certain controversial topics. They may decide, they just don't want to be associated with that type of content. Similarly, we may find that audiences have similar preferences. So we might find that a profane video, for example, may not be something that everyone on YouTube is going to be interested in. And so if you ever see these things kind of happening, around the same time, it's not because we're looking at, well, what did the advertiser say? Let's do that for the user. That's not how we do it. We're trying to give the viewer what the viewer wants to watch, independent of what the advertiser does. And so they're separate systems. We don't use that monetization information in search and discovery.
So last thing is, the viewers of this channel are super helpful with input. Are there any things that you want to say to them or ask them about for the next one?
I'd just say bring on more questions. I want to know what you want to know, and so just post your questions in the comments, and maybe we'll do another follow-up soon.
Awesome.